Hi, this is Tanya Robinson, and I want to thank you for watching In Camera Review.
Final category of today, some just sort of questions about things you like to do in the Bay Area and more sort of personal stuff. So what are 3 favorite places to eat in the Bay Area for you?
I don't really go out to eat much, and especially since the pandemic, I don't go out to eat. But I mean, I like Zachary's Pizza. I'm trying to think of other restaurants that I've gone to. There are a few in Walnut Creek. I like True Food Kitchen. I try to eat healthy, so I like different places that offer those healthy options. There are a couple of Italian restaurants in Walnut Creek that I like, and I can't think of the names of them off the top of my head. But I usually just eat at home. I've got a pretty basic, bland type of diet that I usually try to adhere to.
I feel that very much, especially nowadays. What are your 3 suggestions for a binge watch extravaganza on Netflix or Amazon Prime?
I don't really watch a lot of Netflix or Amazon. I'm a real big movie buff, so I've got a pretty large collection of movies that I own that I'm constantly watching. But as far as binge watching on streaming networks, I guess Cobra Kai. I like Cobra Kai because I'm a fan of the original Karate Kid movies. I don't know if they are still on Netflix or not, but the Spartacus miniseries is something that if anybody hasn't seen it and it is available, I would suggest binge watching that. That was a very good series. But as far as streaming, yeah, I don't really binge watch a lot of series or anything. But like I said, I do watch a lot of movies. Primarily classic movies. I like the older movies.
All right. Well, probably better for your brain. Keeping yourself agile. What is something that most people would be surprised to know about you?
Well, I guess those that don't know it would probably be surprised to know that I did box at one time, and on my boxing team, one of the members was Sugar Shane Mosley, who went on to become a world championship, and at one time was considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world. And so we used to practice together and spar together, and so they'd probably be surprised at that. They might be surprised to know that I'm a fairly talented artist.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of art?
I do drawing with graphite and also paint with acrylics.
Wow, very cool.
I think that's probably the only thing I can think of that people might be surprised at.
Yes, and you're a good screenplay writer as well.
I'll get that from my dad. He was a writer.
Oh, very cool. So taking into account your current judicial ethics restrictions, do you care to comment on any current political, social events or race and justice reforms? And if not, that's totally understandable.
No, I don't want to comment on anything political.
All right, fair enough. Has any new case law, legislation, or any recently enacted statutes caught your attention enough to comment?
Nothing to comment. I mean, there are a number of new statutes in criminal law that we are still grasping with and figuring out how to implement it. I mean, the main one of the major ones is the term limits on probationary periods. And so in misdemeanors, for instance, most misdemeanors are now limited to a 1-year probationary period. And so we've got quite a few cases that are coming before us where probation was 2 years or 3 years. And so we're trying to deal with those, how to deal with those when there's still conditions of probation that haven't been met yet, or are the defendants relieved of those obligations. And so we're still struggling with the appropriate answers on those.
Great, thank you. Tanya, do you have any questions?
I actually do have a questions. So you spoke a lot about being prepared, attorneys being prepared in court. What if, have you came across a new attorney who was prepared in court, but he or she was so nervous that they couldn't get their point across, but you knew where they were trying to go? Do you prompt the attorney or do you just let them fall on the sword?
No, I mean, if there's a young attorney and I know that I can see what they're trying to get at, but they're struggling with it, I'll ask probing questions to get it out. Sure.
Yeah, because I've been there before and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm trying to say. I just can't get it out because I'm so nervous. But eventually someone helps me out and then I get into a groove. My second question is, so 2010, you decided to run for, you decided you wanted to become a judge and you were going through the process and it took 8 years, correct?
Right.
At any point during that time, did you say, and I can't recall if you said this, did you say, okay, this is not for me, I'm gonna give up, I'm done?
I never said I was going to give up, but I just kind of had resigned myself to the fact that maybe this is not going to happen. But I was at a point in my career as a commissioner where if it didn't happen, I was still on the bench. I was still doing what I wanted to do, which was making a positive impact in people's lives. I was in family court at that time. That is a assignment that I think you can really make some positive changes or affect people positively in those courts, because you're dealing with such important issues like custody, visitation, and you're affecting children for years to come, basically their entire lives. So I was happy with where I was in my career. And so if it didn't happen, I was not going to be upset about it. But I wouldn't say I gave up. I just had resigned myself that, well, maybe it's not going to happen. And if so, I'm at peace with that.
You wouldn't have been woe is me, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die if I don't get this.
Right.
You said you did criminal defense work. What was the one thing in criminal defense that you brought to your judgeship that you would like, whatever experience you learned from being a criminal attorney to becoming a judge?
Well, I mean, as a criminal attorney, you're in court a lot. So, yeah, and I've tried a number of cases. So, I guess what I brought was a familiarity with how trials should be handled, and a good familiarity with the evidence code, and just now that I'm in the criminal assignment, a good understanding of how the criminal process works. I guess that's what I brought with me from being a criminal attorney.
Is there a case, and I'm not sure if Lizzie spoke about this, is there a case that you still think about as a judge that, that came, a trial that came through your court that touched you like personally, where you think about it sometimes, where if you're watching TV or you're reading one of your books and you're like, oh my gosh, I still remember that case?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of cases that I remember. I don't think that there are many that I reflect back on and and I'm still struggling. Well, did I make the right decision? I don't have any situations like that, but there are a number of cases that I think back on, and um, uh, I think the most significant ones are probably the matters that were involving uh, in family court, what are called move away issues, and that's where one parent is moving maybe to another state or so, so that it creates a situation where the parents are not going to be able to share um, equal or approximately equal custody of a child because the distance between them is too great to share them on a weekly or biweekly basis. And so you have to make that decision which parent is going to get the custody of the child. And so those ones are always very difficult because a lot of times you've got two parents who would both be great parents, and you've got to tell one parent, well, you're not going to see your child very often anymore. And trying to make that decision as to who gets the child and who doesn't, that, I mean, it's very it's stressful, and you've got to put a lot of thought into it. And so I think about those, but I don't think back in the sense that, well, did I make the right decision? Do I dwell on that? I don't do that. No.
Mhm. No, I'm not so more if you made the right decision, but more so you're like, I feel sad that this is happening to this particular client, or just like you said, like you're disappointed, I guess, that you have to remove a child from a parent's custody, and it's like there's nothing else you can do if it's for the best.
Right. No, sure. It's I mean, sometimes you have to make these choices where somebody is going to be hurt that doesn't deserve to be hurt. But you just have to look and try to figure out what is going to be in that child's best interest, and you make that decision accordingly.
Um, Last two questions. Do you still have your stamp collection, and do you still spar?
First question, yes, I do still have my stamp collection. No, I have not.
Is it worth? Is it of value?
I assume that it is. I've got some pretty old ones from the 1800s, but I don't know what the value is.
And sparring?
No, I have not sparred in quite a long.
I did boxing as a workout a long time ago, and then I hurt my shoulder, but I couldn't get back into it just yet. And it's gruesome. Those 3-minute jump ropes, I don't know how I did it, and or how people do it all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I commend you for even being with Shane Mosley on that level.
Right. Well, we were only in junior high school at the time.
Yeah.
We hadn't reached that level yet.